Starting next with standard penetration test. This test involves the measurement of resistance to penetration or a sampling spoon, a cone or other shaped tools under dynamic or static loading. The resistance is empirically correlated with some of the engineering properties of soil, such as density index, consistency, bearing capacity, etc. The values of this test lie in the amount of experience behind them. This test is useful for general exploration or erratic soil profiles, for finding depth of bedrock or hard strata, and to have an approximate indication of the strength and other properties of soils, particularly the cohesion-rich soil, from which it is difficult to obtain undisturbed sample. The test is performed in a clean hole 55 to 150 mm diameter. A casing or drilling mud is used to support the sides of the hole. A thick wall split tube sampler 50.80 mm 2 inch OD and 35 mm 1.5 inch ID is OD in the sense outer diameter and ID is internal diameter is driven into the undisturbed soil at the bottom of the hole under blows of 65 kg, drive weight with 75 cm, that is 30 inch free fall. The maximum open length of the sample should be 60 cm. The sampler is first driven through 15 cm as a sit and drive. It is further driven through 30 cm 12 inch or until 100 blows have been applied. The number of blows required to drive the sampler 30 cm beyond the sitting drive is termed as penetration resistance N. If required, more than 100 blows may also be used. Reuseful refusal is said to have been reached when the sampler penetrates less than 25 cm under 50 blows. The observed value of N is then corrected for submergence correction and overburden pressure correlation. So talking about diagram, this is your standard split tube sampler having sample head, wrench hole where 4 numbers of vent port, split spoon, drive shoe, all the things inside it. So talking about submerged correction, in very fine or silty sand situated below the water table on apparent increase in penetration resistance occur. Terzaghi and Peck have recommended the use of equivalent penetration resistance in place of actually observed N when N is greater than 50. Na is given by following reaction. Na is equal to 15 plus half of N minus 15. And overburden pressure correction, for a constant density index, the N value increase with increasing effective overburden pressure, for which correction have been proposed by Gibbs and Holtz. Gibbs and Holtz have experimentally studied the effect of overburden pressure on the values of N. Their modification for air dry or moist sand can be represented by the relation N0 is equal to N into bracket and above numerator 500 upon 1.42 rho dash plus 100. Here are some methods of improving bearing capacity. So very first one is compaction of soil. Starting with compaction of soil. By compaction of soil, the soil reduces the open spaces between the individual particle and hence they are less liable to displacement. The compaction of soil results in increased density and shear strength of the soil mass and hence in increased bearing capacity. Second one is proper drainage of soil. By draining the soil and thereby lowering the groundwater table, bearing capacity can be increased. This method is suitable for coarse grained soil where groundwater table lowering becomes faster due to high permeability. Third one is increase in depth of foundation. The nature of soil is more and more compact as the depth advances due to greater overburden pressure. This results into increase in bearing capacity along the depth. This is especially true in case of cohesion-less soils when water table is deep. By increasing depth of foundation, higher bearing capacity values can be adapted for design purpose. However, it results into more cost. Fourth one is increase in width of foundation. As bearing capacity depends upon width of foundation, increase in width gives greater bearing capacity since bearing area is more. Fifth one is grouting process. If the stratum below foundation stratum has fissures, cracks, cavities or large voids, cement ground is injected under pressure so that the full mass becomes solid and monolithic. Sixth one is use of chemicals. Chemicals like sodium silicate and calcium chloride are used to solidify the soil by injecting the solution. It forms a gel-like structure and develops a compact mass. However, this method is costly and rarely used. Seventh one is replacement of poor soil. The soil material having low bearing capacity is removed from the site and replaced by a better material like sand gravel mixture, and compaction is done by spreading such materials in layers. Here are some factors affecting bearing capacity of soil. So bearing capacity depends upon a number of factors which are given below. Type of soil and its physical properties such as density, shear strength, etc. Amount of allowable total and differential settlement. Position of water table. Physical features of the foundation such as type of foundation, size and shape of foundation, rigidity of structure. So here are some other factors affecting bearing capacity of soil also, like soil type, grain size, degree of compaction, stratification of soil, presence of water table, types of foundation. Starting with soil type. Soil type and its value of coherency and internal friction or angle of internal friction will play an important role in the bearing capacity. An ordinary soil resists the load by a combination of internal friction and cohesion. Grain size, the bearing capacity generally decreases as the grain size increases. Fine grained soil have more bearing capacity. Third is degree of saturation, degree of computation. The amount of compaction also affects the bearing capacity. As compared to rammer, rollers gives more degree of compaction. Therefore, more density achieved using rollers, thus bearing capacity increased. Stratification of soil. If the stratification is perpendicular to the direction of loading coming on the soil, the bearing capacity is maximum. Fifth one is presence of water table. The bearing capacity for soils decreased with the presence of water table. Higher the water table, lesser is the bearing capacity. Last one is types of foundation. Bearing capacity of soil for shallow foundation is less than that of deep foundation. Moving to earth pressure. A soil mass is stable when the slope of the surface of the soil mass is flatter than safe slope. At some locations where the space is limited, it is not possible to provide stable slope unless until supported by a structure called as retaining structure. Retaining structure does resist the lateral pressure exerted by soil mass. This lateral pressure is known as earth pressure. The material retained or supported by the structure is called backfill, which may have its top surface horizontal or inclined. This is earth pressure at rest. When the soil mass is not subjected to any lateral yielding or movement, it is called as earth pressure at rest. The following figure shows the basement retaining wall, which retain against the movement of the basement slab provided at their tops. Second one is active pressure. A state of active pressure occurs when the soil mass yields in such a way that it tends to stretch horizontally. During the active state, the walls moves away from the backfill and a certain portion of the backfill located immediately behind the walls breaks away from the rest of the soil. The active pressure develops on the right hand side when the wall moves towards left. Third one is passive pressure. A state of passive pressure exists when the movement of the wall is such that the soil tends to compress horizontally. The passive pressure develops on the left side of the wall below the ground level. Next is variation of pressure. Figure shows the variation of earth pressure with the wall movement. Point B represents the case when there is no movement of the wall. It indicates the at rest pressure. By figure, it is clear that minimum pressure is called the active pressure, maximum pressure is called as passive pressure, passive earth pressure. Earth pressure that you can see in this diagram also. Active pressure, movement away from the field, and movement towards field, the passive pressure is happened. And at earth pressure, at rest, no movement is applied. So here are the various equations for earth pressure at rest. The following figure shows a retaining wall in which no movement takes place. The vertical stress at point A at depth Z is given by rho V is equal to gamma Z, where gamma is unit weight of soil and Z is the depth at till the point A. So here by keeping values of Z is equal to 0 and Z is equal to H, the whole depth of the retaining wall, we can get two values of pressure like 0 and K0 gamma H. So by which we can draw a pressure diagram. The pressure distribution diagram is the triangular with 0 intensity at Z is equal to 0 and intensity of K0 gamma H at the base of the wall where Z is equals to H. The total pressure P0 per unit length of the vertical height is given by formula area of triangle. Hence P0, that is earth pressure at rest, is equal to half into K0 gamma H square. Here are the table shows different values. Of K0 for different soil type. For loose sand it is 0.4, dense sand it is 0.6, sand compacted in layer it is 0.8, soft clay it is 0.6 and hard clay it is 0.5. Moving further to active earth pressure, that is Rankine's theory. Certain assumptions were made by Rankine for his theory. The soil mass is semi-infinite, homogeneous, dry and cohesionless. The ground surface is plane, which may be horizontal or inclined. The back of wall is vertical and smooth. The wall yields about the base. The soil element is in state of plastic equilibrium, that is on a verge of failure. Consider an element at a depth Z below the ground surface. When the wall is at a point of moving away from the field, the active state of plastic equilibrium is established. The horizontal pressure rho H is then the minimum principal stress rho 3 and the vertical pressure rho V is the major principal stress rho 1. From plastic equilibrium equation we can get rho 1 is equals to rho 3 tan square alpha plus 2c tan alpha. So here is its equation. So I had written the equation here. This particular equation are again explained by me in your theory lectures. So here only make a view on the equation and make them noticed. while in theory lecture I'll explain each and every with the proper equation and explanation. So this is passive earth pressure equation. Active earth pressure cohesion-less soil have three types of equation: dry backfill with no surcharge, submerged backfill with no surcharge, backfill with uniform surcharge. So this is dry backfill with no surcharge equation, this is submerged backfill with no surcharge equation, and this is submerged backfill with no surcharge equation, and last backfill with uniform surcharge equation. So all these three will explain me in your numerical lecture. When I make a numerical video, I'll keep this point in that numerical lecture, and again explain in theory lectures also. So here your fourth chapter is also over. Thank you guys.